The limited late models have seen its ups and downs since its inception in 2005, but this past year saw an increased car count in the division with the possibility of over 10 cars competing on a weekly basis. Andrew Duran won the 2020 Limited Late Model Championship in a tiebreaker over Alex Fern, and decided for 2021 to move up to the late models, leaving Alex Fern as a favorite for the upcoming year after ending 2020 with a victory. But she still had to deal with two-time champion Jeremy Lavoie, multi-time winner Matt Clement, Gary Patno, and a few other new contenders as they look to compete for the 2021 Limited Late Model title. Alex Fern's trends over the past few years includes not firing off the way the 12 team has wanted to. While summertime might be the right time, Fern is hoping for a good start in the spring to get 2021 on the right foot. The season opener saw 11 limited late models take the green flag, with Jeremy Lavoie leading the field. But Lavoie had a rearview mirror full of Alex Fern before the East Longmeadow native made her move. After a spin brought out the caution, Fern led the field to the restart, but didn't get the jump she needed. Lucky for her, the restart wouldn't matter as an accident on the same lap involving Gary Patno and Matt Clement brought out another caution. Fern would then nail the final restart and take the checker flag, sending a message that the team is ready to fight for a championship, taking home the season opening victory. A familiar name in a new place in the limited late models was Rich Hammond, driving the 28 car provided by the Rob Russell team. Racing for a few decades, Hammond came into the season confident that with the good equipment, he has a shot at getting his first Stafford win. Matt Clement took the lead early, but had to park the car after getting black flagged due to his car leaking fluid on the track. That gave Jeremy Lavoie the lead for the second straight race. Hammond had a sluggish start on the outside, but started making his way through the field, and with a few laps to go, Hammond reeled in Lavoie and made the pass look easy.
There it goes.
He comes down low. Do or die time for Rich Hammond.
Lavoie's car just did a little stutter step, and that's all it took. Another leader emerges from the pack. This is leader number 3. It is Rich Hammond. If he can hold on for one more turn. Ladies and gentlemen, off turn number 4, Rich Hammond has done it here at Stafford.
Rich Hammond now knew what he felt all along, that he had what it took to win. Now, the 28 team was ready for more opportunities in victory lane. After a breakout 2019, Matt Clement's 2020 season saw him just win one race while scoring a top 5 in every feature. But 2021 was not kind to the Wethersfield native early, scoring a 9th and a 13th in the first 2 races. That allowed Matt to start race number 3 on the pin. The second lap of the race saw the 2 winners of the season so far find trouble in turn 1. While RJ Sardell's night was over, Alex Fern and Rich Hammond were able to continue. Fern made her way through the field, making it up to second spot, while Hammond worked his way up to third. But Matt pulled away, leading every lap of the feature en route to his first win of 2021, giving the limited late models 3 different winners in the first 3 races. The 4th race of the season started with Gary Patno going from 3rd to 1st in the span of 1 corner, after a nice bold move in turn 1. Patno would pull away until a yellow flag bunched the field up. Then Jeremy Lavoie got the jump on the restart, giving him the lead. But for the second time in 4 races, the 6th car would have to deal with Alex Fern.
And there's a bid for the lead. Bottom of turn 1. Lavoie left the door open, and Matt, I think you called it best a little earlier.
And here is Alexandra as she is able to swoop underneath Lavoie.
Alexandra Fern is back in winning form here at Stafford as the double checkers come out.
The first 4 races of the year for Fern resulted in 2 wins and 2 second-place finishes. One of the newcomers to the limited late models is 2-time street stock winner Mike Hopkins. After only competing in 1 race last season, Hopkins is running a partial schedule in 2021 as the 78 team scored a couple top 5s before taking the next few weeks off heading into race 5. The drama got started in the heat race for the limiteds as point leader Alex Fern made contact with rookie Matt Scapini, ending both drivers' heat races. Scapini and Fern would have their cars ready for the feature. But that wasn't the only drama from the heat race, as Matt Clement on a restart while running second seemed to have a tire give way.
Trouble as Hammond gets hammered by Clement. Also winding up on the grass is Hopkins, but the number 95 of Jay Clement almost undressed as he got together with the hammer, Rich Hammond.
Nearly half the field suffered damage in the restart melee, including Rich Hammond, Jeremy Lavoie, and Matt Clement. Unfortunately for Matt, he wouldn't make the feature due to damage. Hopkins was one of the lucky ones, trekking through the grass to avoid the accident. Aside from Matt, everybody else had their cars repaired in time for the feature. RJ Sardell had the jump on his son Damian Pilardi on the first lap, before Sardell found himself heading to the guardrail.
The outside lane.
Around goes Sardell, and he gets hammered by Patno. Patno had nowhere to go.
Comes out before we get one lap into the record books.
A few laps later, the point leader found trouble again as Alex Fern went for a slide in turn 2. Gary Patno led early, as another yellow came out for Kevin Crosby. Then, Jay Clement went for a loop on the restart. Patno took over the lead after a well-executed restart, but Hammond and Fern caught back up to the 22, creating a 3-car fracas for the lead.
But
look at Alexandra Fern!
A solid move to the inside, and Alexandra Fern gets crossed up down the front straightaway.
Can she recover without hitting the wall? No.
Oh.
Fern would still recover for a 4th place finish, as Patno led the field on the final restart, only to have a right front tire go down, ending his chances at victory. That gave the lead to Hopkins, who was one of a few drivers that didn't have trouble on this night. Some races turned to a matter of survival, and Hopkins certainly survived, giving the Springfield native his first career limited late model win in just his 4th ever start in the division. After a hard-fought top 5 finish, Alex Fern would start race number 6 back in the 10th spot, but that 12 team has already shown many times that they have the driver and the car to slice through the field like a hot knife through butter. After 6 laps, Fern was already up to 3rd, while Rich Hammond took the lead from Jay Clement. After a brief caution, Fern was poised to take the top spot away from Hammond.
Battle for the lead in turn 3. Here's Fern right to the bottom of the racetrack. She will take the top spot away. Hammond trying the crossover off turn 4. He can't make it stick. Alexandra Fern just 3 laps away from her 3rd win of the season.
Alexandra Fern is looking at double checkers.
3 wins and 6 top 4 finishes in the first 6 races for Alex Fern, as her tear in the limited late models continued, with seemingly no end in sight. Gary Patno's first 6 races of the year saw 3 top 10s and 3 finishes of 12th or worse in a field of 13 cars. Patno's problem has been flat tires, as the recent stretch of bad luck gave Patno a chance at changing the momentum in his favor come race 7. Patno started on the pin in a race that would end up going green to checker. Matt Clement, Alex Fern, and Rich Hammond worked their way into the top 4 behind Patno, and all 3 drivers were reeling in the 22 as the laps winded down. The roller coaster season continued for Patno, but on this day, he could celebrate the highest of highs in 2021, earning his first win of the year. Even though Alex Fern has shown remarkable consistency as the point leader, Rich Hammond was within striking distance, as the taller native didn't have a finish outside the top 6. The 2 drivers were destined to have more battles throughout the year, but no battle could best what was to come by the end of June. The 8th race of the year saw Hammond start 6th and Fern start 7th, but by the end of the first lap, both drivers ducked underneath Matt Clement before Matt was in a tussle with RJ Sardell and Mike Hopkins. Both Sardell and Hopkins' night was over. Fern found her way to the front first, passing Gary Patno for the lead, but Hammond was right there, moving in the 2nd spot. And as the laps winded down, Hammond closed in on Fern, and the 2 point leaders put on one of the best finishes all year.
Fern trying to hold them off. They sprint off the 4th corner, almost even, too close to call. We will wait for the official word, a photo finish. Your winner, come from behind fashion, the Hammer, Rich Hammond.
How about 4/1000ths of a second?
Hell yeah, I'll take it.
Woo! Yeah!
After missing a feature due to a heat race incident, Matt Clement found more consistency, scoring a 3rd, 2nd, and 4th heading into the month of July. The first lap of race 9 saw Devin Jensick take the lead early, going from 3rd to 1st after 1 corner. But after a few laps, Matt moved from 5th to the lead as Jensick got shuffled back. After a Jay Clement spin, Jensick made contact with Gary Patno on the restart, before Jensick found himself in a heap of trouble.
We've got a car up on 2 wheels. It is the 23 machine of Devin Jensick, and he literally rode the cement wall just coming off turn number 4.
Matt would open up a gap to Alex Fern, and the 12 couldn't close in, allowing Matt to score his 2nd win of 2021, surpassing his 1-win season last year, as the 59 team continued to stay consistent. The season reached its halfway point, and Alex Fern still held the point lead, with Rich Hammond and Jeremy Lavoie not too far behind. But Fern still didn't score a finish outside the top 4 heading into race 10. Contact early in the race between Matt Scapini and Rich Hammond led to the rookie in the 10 car going for a spin and led to Hammond being sent to the back of the field for aggressive driving. Devin Jensick ran strong in the first half of the race before surrendering the lead to the still winless Jeremy Lavoie. Lavoie would have a large lead over Fern, but an RJ Sardell incident brought the field back together. With a few laps to go, Fern made her move on Lavoie, taking the lead and trying to hold off Lavoie and Jensick while having a close encounter with the turn 2 wall.
As they race up the back straightaway, and Fern catches the wall on the backstretch. Is it enough to slow her and allow Lavoie to the inside?
Lavoie tries to make it work. He finds some magic on the bottom. They come rumbling off turn number 4. It is Alexandra Fern. Sparks flying.
The win marked 4 on the year for Fern, tying a career high for most wins in a season, which she also pulled off in 2019. One standout performance from the previous week was Devin Jensick. After his wreck on the front stretch, Jensick returned the following week to score a career-best third-place run, opening up the possibility that the 23 team could be a team to reckon with as the season rolled on. With July winding down, Jensick started the 11th race of the year in third and quickly found himself out in front. Matt Clement and RJ Sardell converged in turn 1 during the feature, bringing out the race's second yellow. And on the ensuing restart, Matt's brother Jay got loose in turn 2, leading to a savage crash involving Rich Hammond.
Trouble now. Off the turn. Oh, Hammond hits at a ton, and Clement. The same thing there, and Patno will spin.
Both drivers were okay, but Jay would be done for the season while Hammond missed the feature the following week, ending his hopes for a championship. Jensick had to hold off Jeremy Lavoie in the final laps, but the 6 car didn't have enough to tighten the gap, and the Canton, Connecticut native in his 3rd season in the division scored his first career limited late model win, making it 3 first-time winners in the division in 2021. The biggest shocker heading into August for the limited late models is that despite 6 different winners, 2-time champion Jeremy Lavoie was still winless. Like Alex Fern, Lavoie has finished in the top 5 in every feature heading into the month of August, but the 6 team still couldn't find what it took to put the entire 20-lap race together and return to victory lane. Lavoie fell from 4th to 6th at the beginning of race 12 after a bad start by Damian Pilardi. RJ Sardell led the first chunk of the race, while Devin Jensick's bid for back-to-back wins ran into trouble with point leader Alex Fern. After some intense racing on a restart, Lavoie was able to make his way past to take over the top spot. But many times before did Lavoie take the lead only to lose it as the race winded down. It seemed to happen again as Fern came back to take the lead after her incident on the front stretch. But a couple of cautions gave Lavoie a chance to grab that lead back.
It takes Alexandra Fern about a lap, and now look at Devin Jensick. Moves to the inside. Alexandra Fern digs in hard, pulls back in the line behind Lavoie.
This time, Lavoie put it all together, and for the first time in a year, the Windsor Locks native finally found victory lane, marking 7 different winners in the limited late models this season. Devin Jensick's second place finish was taken away after failing post-race tech, giving Alex Fern 2nd spot as she was still on track for the limited late model championship. After his disqualification the previous week, Devin Jensick was fixed on sending a message showing that the 23 team is still here to compete for wins in spite of their penalty. The 13th race of the year saw Jensick start back in 10th spot as RJ Sardell took the early lead. Kevin Crosby found trouble early on after finding the turn 2 wall. Jensick had worked his way through the field methodically, eventually surpassing RJ Sardell to take over the point. But Jensick had a mirror full of Jeremy Lavoie, who was going for back-to-back wins, and the 2 wheelmen put on a show.
Jensick has tried everything to hold off Lavoie. Lavoie has been on the inside lap after lap. Meanwhile, Alexandra Fern has moved into the 3rd spot, forcing Patno back out in front. Here comes Lavoie. Going, will it be gone? It is. Car number 6, Jeremy Lavoie, taking back command of tonight's event, showing it was no fluke. Just 1 week ago, Lavoie will get the white flag. Look at the scramble for the 3rd position.
Patno gets in, Fern come together in turn 1, Patno goes around, Fern slides up, race leaders are side by side up the back straightaway. Jensick and Lavoie racing for the win in turn 4.
They come down to the stripe, here they come. Ladies and gentlemen, Jensick has it by inches off the turn. To the stripe they come. Devin Jensick will take down the win.
The disqualification didn't seem to faze Jensic as he made a return trip to victory lane, and his hot streak would continue on. Alex Fern's last lap incident with Gary Patno led to an abysmal 12th place finish, her first finish outside the top 4 all year. That run plus Lavoie's second place finish tightened the points battle significantly, leaving no margin for error for either the 12 or the 6. The 14th race of the season saw Matt Clement take over the lead before the track got a little too slick thanks to Mother Nature. Rain would delay the race for a short amount of time before we got back underway. Devin Jensic started back in 9th spot, but before you know it, he maneuvered his way past everyone and was battling and taking the lead from Matt with just a few laps to go. Jensic stayed red hot, scoring his 3rd win in the last 4 races, a stretch not many may have predicted when the 2021 season started. Gary Patno's regular season continued to be a roller coaster, scoring finishes in the top 5 and at the back half of the field. But even during the roller coaster years, there's a couple of high spots to look back on. Patno started the 15th race of the year in 4th spot and made the outside work early to move up to 2nd. He then found his way past Matt Scapini to move into the lead. The race went green the checker, and Patno only worried slightly as the 28 of Rich Hammond was closing in, but time had run out, and the roller coaster reached a high point once again for Patno, scoring his 2nd win of 2021. A newcomer to the limited late models this year was also a newcomer to racing the big cars period. Matt Scapini decided the race at Stafford in the limiteds, driving Andrew Duran's 2020 championship winning car. Scapini has consistently been a mid-pack performer as he continued to log laps, but he did score a podium back in June. The Litchfield native knew that it can only get better as he continued to learn and gain experience behind the wheel. The month of September had arrived, and Matt Scapini started the 16th race of the season on the outside the front row, but took the lead immediately. The race would go caution-free, as Scapini had to worry about both Alex Fern and Gary Patno reeling in the 10 car. But Fern's car would stall out, holding up both her and Patno, as the checker flag flew for Matt Scapini. In his first full year driving the big cars, Scapini was able to call himself a Stafford Speedway winner, giving the limited late models its 4th first-time winner in 2021. After winning 4 of the first 10 races, Alex Fern hadn't been able to find victory lane the last 6. In an unusual flip, summer wasn't as kind to the 12 team as in the past years. But if there was any time to get hot again and find victory lane, it was now, with just 4 races remaining. The front of the field would stay bunched up for the first few laps of race 17, a little too bunched up, as both Jeremy Lavoie and Devin Jensic ended up going for a spin in turn 1. Lavoie had to charge back to the front as soon as possible because Alex Fern would take the lead after Matt Clement got a bump from behind by Damian Pilardi, sending the 59 for a spin. Lavoie would pick his way through the pack, and with the help of a caution, the 6 car found itself in 2nd, right on the back bumper of Fern. But Lavoie's efforts stalled out in the end, and Alex Fern was back on top of the race results, setting a new career high with 5 wins on the year, opening the gap slightly in the points over Jeremy Lavoie. After a week off, it was fall final weekend, where the limited late models would race on both Friday and Saturday, and both features were points-paying races, giving Jeremy Lavoie a chance to take over the point lead or giving Alex Fern a chance to clinch the title early by weekend's end. RJ Sardell led the field for race 18, but it was short-lived after contact with Matt Clement sent the 83 sliding through the grass. The ensuing restart saw a couple of winners find trouble in turn 3, with Gary Patno and Mike Hopkins crashing out, with Patno losing a tire in the process. The following restart saw a 3-way battle between limited late model veterans Clement, Lavoie, and Fern, with Fern eventually coming out on top of the battle, looking for back-to-back wins for the first time this year. Devin Jensic would move up to 2nd before Matt went for a spin in turn 2, bringing out the caution. On the restart, Fern misses a shift, allowing Jensic to take the lead, looking for his 4th win of the year. But the 12 car proved too tough, as Fern made her way back by Jensic after a few laps, and the winningest female in Stafford history added to the record books with her 6th win of the year, further expanding her point lead over Jeremy Lavoie, who finished 3rd in the race. There wasn't much time to celebrate though, as the limited late model competitors were ready for action the next day. Mike Hopkins started off Saturday morning working on the car, getting it repaired and ready for the feature after his crash the previous night. Newcomer Ari Jensic, sister of Devin, led the field to the green flag, but brother Devin had to park the car after damage from contact with Gary Patno led to Devin being black flagged. Patno would soon find trouble himself, pounding the wall to bring out the yellow. Ari had led from the green flag when the car suddenly dropped off, giving Mike Hopkins the lead before Ari found herself in the turn 1 guardrail after contact with RJ Serdell. Hopkins would pull away on the final restart, and in an incredible show of hard work and persistence, Mike Hopkins bounced back from a wreck the previous night to celebrate his second win of 2021. With Alex Fern finishing third and Jeremy Lavoie finishing fourth, plus you factor in the drop rule, where each driver's worst finish is taken out of the point total, Fern had a big enough lead where if she took the green flag in the championship finale feature the next week, she would clinch the 2021 Limited Late Model Championship. It's Napa Championship night. The goal for Alex Fern, get through practice and the heats in one piece. Unfortunately for Ari Jensic, her bid for a heat race win came to an abrupt halt on the final lap, destroying her car and ending her night. Fern would suffer no problems though, and when the green flag waved, Fern was crowned Limited Late Model Champion. But there was still a race to be won, and Damian Pilardi was the driver with the edge early on, but Mike Hopkins and Jeremy Lavoie would make their way to the front, shuffling the 87 back. Fern had a mechanical issue with her car, forcing her out of contention for the win. The victory was going to be decided between Hopkins and Lavoie, with Hopkins looking for back-to-back victories to close out the year.
Do or die time for Lavoie as he jackhammers his way into their quarter panel of Hopkins.
Lavoie makes some contact, pulls to the inside. Battle of the red, the raging red, down the back straightaway. Here comes Lavoie. Brand new leader emerges. The leader of the pack. Checkered flags are out. And Jeremy Lavoie is back in winning form.
Lavoie would cap off an extremely consistent year for the 6 team with his second win of 2021, finishing off the season with a top 5 finish in every feature this year. But after a 6th place run, it was Alex Fern and the 12 teams celebrating the grand prize as 2021 Limited Late Model Champions. Fern becoming just the second female in Stafford history to win a track title behind Shelly Perry back in 2006 in the SK Lights.
You know, if we completed all the laps this year, that we would be at least close. Last year, tying for the championship and then losing it in the tiebreaker was definitely, I think, a motivator. So just thank you, everyone who gets me here.
2021 was an underrated year for the Limited Late Models, as the division saw 8 different winners, with Rich Hammond, Mike Hopkins, Devin Jensic, and Matt Scapini all becoming first-time limited winners. Alex Fern led the division by far with 6 wins on the year. Devin Jensic was next with 3. Jeremy Lavoie led the division in top 5 finishes, as he was the only driver to score 20 top 5s in 20 starts. Out of the 16 total Limited Late Model competitors this year, 13 of them scored a top 5 finish, and Matt Scapini won Rookie of the Year with his 1 win, and he was one of just 2 drivers alongside Jeremy Lavoie to finish in the top 10 in every feature this year. The season showed that this could be the start of a resurgence for the Limited Late Models, with the hope and prospects of some new competitors joining the division next year, leading to even bigger fields. As the tight competition raises questions, who is next to be crowned Limited Late Model Champion in 2022?